Hare Krishna, ISKCON Chennai welcomes you to another session of Glories of Harinam. So last Sunday we had started with the Glories of Harinam, of which we will continue today. Before that, we will say the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayet नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधारा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So last class we saw that in each yuga there was a yuga dharma. In Satya Yuga, it was a meditation on the Lord. In Treta Yuga, it was a fire sacrifice, yagya. In Dwapara Yuga, it was a deity worship. And in Kali Yuga, the Yuga Dharma is a chanting of the holy names, Hari Nama Sankirtan. So Hari Nama Sankirtan, so we saw who is Hari, and he is the supreme personality of Godhead, and we saw the definition of the Lord in the last class. Now we will again see this, the glories of the holy name. That is, before understanding the glories of the holy name, unless you understand the supreme Lord, unless you know about the supreme Lord, then how will you chant the holy name of the supreme Lord? Hence, we gave the introduction of Bhagavan and about the living entities from where we have come and where we have to go, what is our actual destination is. Now, in Srimad Bhagavatam is told by Shuka Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj asks various questions for which Shukadev Goswami answers those questions. And he also tells him this, Kaler doshe nidhe rajan asti heko mahagunaha kirtanadeva krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajet. So, although this Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, there is still one good quality about this age. And what is that? Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. So Krishna's names, if it is chanted, then you will be free from the material bondage. Now you have various names of Krishna, but primary name is Krishna. You have various other names which also you can chant, and whatever already you are chanting, along with that you also start chanting the holy name of the Lord, so that you will be relieved from the cycle of birth and death. Now we will do a little bit of a revision of what we did in the last class. We saw that we understood that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and he himself says so in the Bhagavad Gita in various shlokas. If you read the Bhagavad Gita, you can understand that he is the supreme God. Now, in the Srimad Bhagavatam also, in the first canto, second chapter, the 11th shloka, we saw that Bhagavan is understood in three phases. And that is the shloka Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaneti iti shabdyate. So God is realized in three phases. One is Brahman effulgence, one is Paramatma, and the next one is Bhagavan. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaneti. So we saw that the students who are in the initial stages, they consider the Brahman effulgence as the supreme and nothing beyond that. That is incomplete knowledge. And the next level of students, they understand the Paramatma as the Supreme, who is omnipresent and is present in every living entity's heart. And the Bhaktas, the devotees, they understand Bhagavan as he is. So Brahman effulgence is the light coming out from the body of the Lord. Paramatma is the one who is there in everybody's heart, and Bhagavan, where he is actually in the spiritual abode. So Prabhupada, we also give an example of the sun rays, the sun planet, and the sun god Vivaswan. Prabhupada further he also explains clearly that if you take the example of a train, when in the dark, suppose now in the night time, when a train is arriving, you're standing on the platform, and when you see from far, you see a light. You can see only the light of the train, and you understand that the train is arriving, but the light itself is not the train. Then, when the train comes a little bit closer, you can see the train with its compartments. And when it comes on the platform, you can see each and every bogie clearly and the people inside the bogies. So, this is how even God is understood in various stages. So, Prabhupada explains that Bhagavan has mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita that there are three types of people. One are jnanis, the second one is yogis, and the third is bhaktas. So the jnanis, they are always speculating. That is in this material world. No, this is not spiritual. They keep saying neti, neti, neti. They are rejecting everything spiritual, and ultimately, when they come to the effulgence, they realize that that is spiritual, and they think, okay, this is spiritual, and this is God. So they end their speculation there. Whereas the yogis, they meditate on the transcendental form of the Lord, which is within everybody's heart. Those are the yogis. And the devotees, they understand how Bhagavan is in his spiritual abode and they do service to that Bhagavan. So this is how Prabhupada explains that jnanis, yogis and bhaktas, how they understand God. But all the three are different stages of the same God. Like in this shloka, it is said, uh, the meaning of the shloka is learned transcendentals who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. Non-dual means no two. There is only one. So there is only one Bhagavan, which who is understood in different ways by different people. Now, after seeing now many people, they will not, despite telling all this from giving scriptural evidence also, they will say that this is Andhavishwas, all this, we cannot believe this, there is no God, or this is material. But unless and until they learn about the Bhagavan in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, they will not be able to understand. Moreover, if you read the Bhagavad Gita in a challenging mood, then you will never understand God. Because in the Bhagavad Gita itself, Bhagavan tells Arjuna that I am telling you this science because you are my devotee and you are very humble. So a person who is humble, who does not have pride, because pride, it does not allow God to come inside to understand God. So a person who is proud, he will not be able to understand God. So he tells Arjuna, since you are very humble, you are pure, you are sinless, I am giving you this science so that you will understand this science. So in the same mood of humility and to know about God, if we read the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam, it is very easy to understand. For others, it will always remain a mystery. Why? Because people try to understand with their material intelligence. With our material knowledge, material eyes, we cannot understand something which is spiritual. For understanding something spiritual, you should also be purified. So, for that only we keep saying you chant the holy names of the Lord. It is so simple. You just chant the name Govinda, Rama, Hare Krishna, all any name of the Lord. You chant. The process is purifying you step by step, and then when you read the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, you will find that it is so simple to understand the scriptures. So the simple process of starting devotional service is by chanting the holy names of the Lord, which is so simple, not difficult, nothing to memorize. You can chant from wherever you are, and that is why all the great acharyas, they keep saying that you chant the holy name of the Lord, because they are all para dukkha dukhi. They suffer when the people suffer, and they are happy when the people are happy. They care for the people, they care for the jivatma, they care for the living entities, and that is why they are propagating the holy name so that the Jivatma, now who has got a human form of life, should not waste his life and should end his journey here in this material world and go to the spiritual abode and be with the Lord, where the Lord is always calling us, you come to me, you come to my dham, you come to my dham. So now the Lord has given this knowledge. First, how did this knowledge come? We saw that the Lord gave this knowledge to the first living entity of this material world, that is Brahmaji. Brahmaji gave it to Narada, Narada gave it to Vyasa, and Vyasa has written down all these which we read now as Shastras and Vedas. So, this Srimad Bhagavatam, it is the essence of all Vedas and Puranas. And that is why, because we do not have time to understand the complexity of all the Shastras, and Srimad Bhagavatam is the simplest Purana which you can understand, which is in the story form of all the devotees and the devotees of the Lord and the Lord Himself. So it is very easy to read the Srimad Bhagavatam. And that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always, he said, you chant the holy name, read Bhagavad Gita and read Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we'll talk about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, because he was the one who propagated this holy name. So before that, we will understand something more. Like now, many people say that 5,000 years ago, Krishna told the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. So there are many people in other faiths who say, "Oh, now this Bhagavad Gita is only a recent proposition, a recent science given to the people, whereas our faiths they are so many years old." But actually, in the Bhagavad Gita itself, Lord Krishna says that I first gave this knowledge to Vivaswan. He says in the fourth chapter, the very first shloka, Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavam Avyayam Proktavam Aham Avyayam Vivaswan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvakave Bhavit. He says, he tells Arjuna that I transmitted, that is, I told this transcendental knowledge to the sun god Vivaswan so many years, millions of years ago. And all this was coming in the Parampara system. He told Manu, Manu told Ikshvaku, and thereby all the kings they received this transcendental knowledge. But due to some reason, there was a gap. So how many years gap? There was 20 million years gap where the Bhagavad Gita was lost. And he says, so now I am making you as an instrument, again impart this knowledge. So immediately the question arises, which would arise even in our minds. Arjuna asks, how is that you imparted this science to um, Vivaswan, who is millions of years old, sun god is millions of years old, and you are just my age. How could it be possible that you have imparted this science to Vivaswan? So Krishna tells that both have taken so many births, but you do not remember anything. I remember everything, which shows that he is the supreme and Arjuna is the Jivatma. We forget, like now today what we are speaking, yesterday what we spoke at the same time, we will not be able to remember. So our memory is like that. So Jivatma is like that, whereas Krishna, he knows the past, the present, and the future. And also he says in the fourth chapter, in the sixth shloka, he says, Ajopi san avyayatma, bhutanam ishwaropi san, prakritim stham adhisthaya, sambhavamya atmamayaya. That is, although I am unborn and transcendental, my transcendental body never deteriorates. And although I am the Lord of all the living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So, from this, we should understand that the Lord's form is transcendental. Does not have material elements like us. We are made of five elements, whereas the Lord, He is not made of any material elements. He's got a transcendental body, and He says that whenever required, He comes, He manifests. He says He manifests in every millennium in his original transcendental form. Why does he manifest? Why does he come here? Again, to establish the dharmic principles. He could do it everything. The Lord can do anything by staying in his own abode. He does not have to come here and show his presence to any of us. But why does he come here? He comes here for the sake of the devotees who have complete faith in him. So to give them pleasure, and he also has pleasure in exchanging, in having loving exchanges with them. So he comes here, and also when he comes here, he establishes the dharmic principles, and he vanquishes all the evil people who are actually destroying dharma. So the Lord always comes in his transcendental form. His body never deteriorates because it is transcendental, and he is the Lord of all living entities. So that is what he tells Arjuna in 4.6. Now, all this we have known about Krishna. We know about Krishna's avatars, how he appears. There are Leela avatars like Narsimha avatar and Matsya avatar. That is for a particular purpose. He just comes and he goes away. But he himself descends. He himself descends from his dham as Krishna avatar, and he has a lot of leelas, lot of pastimes over here. He exchanges a lot of loving pastimes with all his devotees, and he goes back to his abode. Now Krishna, he told the Bhagavad Gita, and he, at the end of Dwapar Yuga, he left the material world. He went back to his abode. So now his teachings, they are all there in the Srimad Bhagavatam. They are also there. Even if you chant his holy name, it is equal to uh, glorifying Krishna. But how to practice what he taught? Now, Arjuna was a very intelligent person. He could understand the teachings of Krishna as Krishna said to him. Whereas we, the people in Kali Yuga, we are so dull and our memory is so weak. Like we are more interested in material things than in spiritual things. So this age is so fallen and it is full of quarrel and fights that people are not able to understand the philosophy and the simple things which Krishna taught Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. And that is why what happened was he manifested himself as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, how did he come here as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? In West Bengal, in Navadvipa. There are Navadvipa means 7 islands. There were Navadvipa was known for the what to say the acharyas who are well versed in all the Vedas and all the Shastras. So it was they all was so intelligent, and they used to have a lot of debates, that is scholastic debates. But in the process, what happened? Everybody is knowledgeable. They were blessed by Goddess Saraswati as well as Goddess Lakshmi. So they used to have a lot of debates. In the process, each one, because of so much of jnana, the bhakti became less. When there is bhakti, jnana and vairagya come together with bhakti. But when jnana takes the upper hand, then bhakti reduces and arrogance increases. So this is what happened in Navadvip, which is now in the present day West Bengal. But there, Navadvip was known for all Sanskrit scholars, and there used to be a lot of debates, and people were very opulent, and they were wasting all their money in grand celebrations, and nobody was worshipping the Supreme Lord. They used to have some small pujas and all that, and when they used to take the name of the Supreme Lord is when they used to go, that is the devotees, the so-called devotees, when they used to go to the Ganges to take bath. At that time, they will say Govinda or Pundarikaksha once, just when they are taking the dip in the Ganges. Otherwise, nobody glorified the Lord. They only were busy in having debates and defeating one another, from small children to the aged persons. So now the acharyas, they saw, the devotees of the Lord, they saw that the people were forgetting the Lord and they are wasting the human form of life. As I said, they are parab dukkha dukhi, so they don't like when people are wasting their lives. They are leading an animal life, so they feel that the human form of life is being wasted, and they try to tell them to tell the name of the Lord, but nobody is paying heed to any attention to these acharyas. In that, the foremost of the acharya, Advaita Acharya, like we say the Panchatattva mantra, which we say, in which this is Advaita Acharya with a beard. He is the foremost of the Acharya. What he did was he started to mm, worship the Supreme Lord in the banks of the Ganges. He took the Saligrama, Vishnu Saligrama, and he used to go to the Ganges, banks of the Ganges, and he used to offer Ganga Jal and Tulsi, and he used to keep worshipping the Lord daily. And the way when he saw that how these people are falling down further and further, he used to scream the Lord's names. He used to say Hari, Hari, Hari so loudly. that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that is the Lord, had to descend here as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there was a couple who were very great devotees of the Lord. The person's name was Jagannath Mishra and his wife was Sachi Devi. They were living in Navadvip, and the Lord, he decided to take them as parents. Just as Lord Krishna, he chose Devaki and Vasudev as the parents. Here, the Lord, he chose Sachi Devi and Jagannath Mishra as the parents. And Sachi Devi became so effulgent when she was carrying the Lord in her womb. So how do we understand that the Lord was there, that the person, that the child who was there in the womb was a Lord? That we will understand now as we listen to the story further. So when on the full moon day, now Lord, why he came? Why Lord Chaitanya Prabhu? Why the Lord decided to come as Chaitanya Prabhu and uh, propagate the devotional service? Because as I said, that is, the Lord understood that the devotion is reducing in Kali Yuga and people are not able to understand how to do bhakti. So instead of coming as the Lord himself or revealing himself as the Lord, he descends as a devotee of the Lord so that by example, he can explain to the people how to do the devotional service in such a simple manner. So on the full moon day in the month of Falguna, that was 18 February 1486, the Lord made his appearance in Navadvipa under a neem tree. And on that day, it was a lunar eclipse. See, usually during the eclipse, people they take bath in the Ganges and they chant the names of Lord Hari. So even before his birth, the Lord, even before he appeared, even before he manifested, he saw to it that everybody in Navadvip was chanting the name of the Lord. It is a practice in solar eclipse for people to take bath in the Ganges and to chant the holy names of the Lord. So when the eclipse was going on, at that time everybody was taking bath in the Ganges and all around there was chanting of Hari, 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 Hari. And amidst the chanting, the child appeared under the neem tree. And because he was born under the neem tree, he is called Nimai. And because he had a golden hue, he is called Gauranga. Now, the Lord actually, Lord Krishna, he appeared in his very own form, that is the in a blackish hue. But in the Kali Yuga, he comes as a hidden avatar and he takes the hue of Radharani, the golden color of Radharani and the mood of Radharani. Why? Because Radharani, she is the greatest devotee of Lord Krishna. And that is why he takes the mood of Radharani so that he will be able to explain the devotional service because only Radharani understands how to do devotional service to Krishna. So he comes in the mood of Radharani to explain devotional service to the people, to the fallen people in Kali Yuga. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he has got many pastimes right from childhood till he left this world. There are so many evidences that he is the Supreme Lord, of which I will cite few instances. So you will understand that he is the Supreme Lord, and then you will understand why we have to chant the name because it was given to us by the Supreme Lord himself. And when you know about the Supreme Lord, when you know more about the Supreme Lord, you will chant the names with love and affection rather than mechanically chanting the names of the Lord. So when you chant with love and affection also, then you experience so much of bliss. So that is why we should know more about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and that he is Krishna himself who has descended to this world in a hidden avatar as a devotee to explain to us how to do bhakti, how to do devotional service. Now, when the child was born and when the naming ceremony was supposed to be given, at that time what happened was the child at first it started crying so much. You see how newborn babies, how much they cry. So everybody tries to pacify uh, the little baby, the little Nimai, by trying to divert his attention or by giving or by asking Sachi Devi to feed him milk or do so many things they try to uh, pacify the child, but the child seems to be screaming more and more. At last, in distress, all of them, they just raise their hands and they cry out to Lord, hurry, hurry, that please, you please show mercy on this child. Immediately, the child became quiet. So then they found out that whenever he cried and they chanted Hari Hari, they immediately became quiet. So this was, he has already started propagating the name of the Lord right from the time he was born. Now, when the child was born and the news spread everywhere that such a beautiful child, he resembles Lord Krishna. They didn't know that he was Lord Krishna himself. They said, "It's so as beautiful as Lord Krishna." And everybody crowded there to see the child. At that time, in the crowd, there was a great sage who had disguised himself as a Brahmana, and he predicted. He told Jagannath Mishra, "Oh Jagannath Mishra, you are very fortunate that you have got the Supreme Lord Narayana has appeared in your house as a son. Indeed, you are very fortunate. I pay my obeisances to you." And even Sachi Devi's father, he was a great astrologer, and he also predicted that the child will be a great personality. You could see all the divine qualities. But what the great that Brahmana want, when he predicted Jagannath Mishra, he became so happy, just as Nanda Maharaj became very happy when Garga Muni prophesied about Lord Krishna. That in that he says he will be as good as Narayana. He doesn't tell him he is Narayana himself, but here the Brahmana tells that he is Narayana himself who has come to your house, and he is going to lift the people from this material pangs. So Jagannath Mishra is very happy. Now, one day, I will tell you some pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu uh, to show that, to prove, because we need to give scriptural evidences to say that he is God. So, once when the little Nimai, he was and the naming ceremony, I forgot to tell you that. Naming ceremony, he was also called as Gaurachandra of Navadvip, and he was named as Vishwambara because he is going to um, uh, deliver the people of this world. So, but people called him Nimai, or they called him Gaura or Gauranga because he was so fair and so golden. They called him Gauranga. He was also called as Gaurachandra or Navadvip. So he had so many names. Now, when he was a small baby, when he was at the crawling stage, at that time there was a Brahmana who came to their village, and in those days the Brahmanas they used to rest in another Brahmana's house, or they used to have their food in another Brahmana's house. This was the setup in those days, so there was no problem of a person traveling on a pilgrimage and thinking about what he will eat on this day or that day. Always there was some house of a Brahmana who used to house them and feed them. So this particular Brahmana, he insisted that he himself would cook the food and offer to the Lord and eat. So Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Devi, they made all the arrangements for the Brahmana to cook and eat, and they retired inside their rooms. Now, when after he cooked the meal and he offered to the Supreme Lord, Hari, Nimai came running from there and immediately he came crawling from there and immediately he ate the prasada. Now the Brahmana said, oh, this child has touched the prasada. Now I cannot offer this to the Lord. The entire thing has become contaminated. So now I have to prepare another meal again. And the second time also the same thing happened. Before he was offering to the Lord, immediately Nimai used to come and eat. So then the Brahmana, he started crying. Then what Jagannath Mishra did, he said, "No, we will take care of Nima. You don't worry. We will shut him up in the room, and we will see to it that he does not come and disturb you." Now it was already midnight, and this Brahmana again he was preparing the entire meal, and Jagannath Mishra, Sachi Devi, they all had taken Nimai inside the room. They had locked up the room very nicely so that Nimai wouldn't escape from there, and they allowed the Brahmana to do his puja and his offerings. But just as again the Brahmana, he was offering the food to the Lord. Somehow from the closed doors, Nimai came crawling from there and again he started to eat. Now the Brahmana started wailing loudly. So immediately what Nimai did was he showed the four-handed form which he was praying to, which the Brahmana was praying to, and he said, "See, I am the Supreme Lord. You are offering the prasada to me only. You are offering the bhog to me only. And when I come and eat, you're crying and you're driving me away." So when he shows him the Supreme form, the Brahmana is awestruck. But Nimai, he tells him, forbids him from telling anybody. He says, I have come here as a devotee, so you don't tell anybody that I'm the Supreme Lord. So the Brahmana, then he understands that the Supreme Lord has taken his book, the offering, and then immediately he has the prasada and he rests peacefully. Now there was another, in that is when Nimai grew a bit older. He was playing outside the house, and two thieves. He was those days they will decorate the child with all gold ornaments and all that. So he was playing outside the house with all the gold ornaments on him, and there were two thieves who saw that, oh, this child is decorated with so many ornaments. We can if we carry this child and take away the ornaments, our all our wishes will be fulfilled. They so saying they carry away the child and they run away. And the child says, I want to go home, I want to go. I say, yeah, we are carrying you home, we are carrying you home. And they are actually going towards their den in the forest. So they go running for a long time. And here, meanwhile, Sachi Devi, she sees the child is not there and she starts wailing, and everybody is searching for Nimai everywhere. Now, this two thieves, they have finally they reach their den, as at least they think so that they have reached their den, and they say, "Okay, now we have come to our place." Okay, and they put him down when they realize that they have come again to the place from where they lifted. So Nimai nicely he brought them back here only, and he delivered those two thieves. Like how the thieves they were so scared they will be beaten up. So what Nimai immediately tells his parents, no, no, I was wandering off near the Ganges. These two people they saw me and they brought me back home. So in that way he saved the thieves also and he liberated them also. So this is what Nimai was doing right from childhood. Now he has grown a bit older. He was a great scholar, Sanskrit scholar. So he is a supreme lord himself. So even this was predicted by the Brahmana that he will be greater than Brihaspati. Brihaspati is Devaguru. So he says this child will be greater than Brihaspati also. So he was such a scholar even in his young age that he used to teach small children. He used to teach small children Sanskrit grammar and all that. And many people they used to when they used to argue with Nimai, he used to very easily defeat them. So no Sanskrit Pandit could ever face Nimai, and they always try to avoid him and run away because they knew they will not be able to face any argument with Nimai. Now one day what happened? There was one Pandit who came from Kashmir. He was called Digvijay because he had the ability to defeat all the scholars, all the Sanskrit scholars throughout the country. Throughout the country, he has defeated everybody and he gained the title Digvijay. Now he wrote a letter to the people of Bengal saying that he is coming here to have a debate with the scholars of the Navadvip because Navadvip was known for Sanskrit scholars. He says, I want you all to engage in a debate with me. If you all do not, then you all write a scroll that I have won without having any debate from you all. So you all should write that and give. Now the Pandits of Navadvip, they were all very proud of their achievements, and they thought, my God, because Digvijay was known to have the blessing of Goddess Saraswati. It was known that when he used to start speaking, that Goddess Saraswati is dancing on his tongue because the way he used to compose the shlokas, nobody would be able to stand in front of him. So they thought, my God, now if he comes here, the Navadvip's reputation will be at stake because we are all very proud that we are all Sanskrit scholars. And if we get defeated by Digvijay, then it will be very bad for Navadvip. So what to do? They were all worrying. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that is Nimai or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he used to teach many students every day on the banks of the Ganges. So those students, they came running and they informed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that this Digvijay Pandit is coming and he's going to challenge here everybody. He is very intelligent and people are afraid to face him. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being the Lord himself, he thought, because the Lord does not like pride in anybody. Only if you are totally free of pride can you surrender to God. And also, uh, he thought that, see, how when a tree is laden with fruits, it bows down completely. So in the same way, a person who is filled with knowledge, he will be truly a very humble person. So if there is a sense of pride in it, then that pride should be corrected. But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also thought that if I have a debate of him in front of the entire public of Navadvip, then it would be a great insult to such a great scholar. So without insulting him, he should be humbled. While thinking so, Digvijay Pandit, he arrived at the shores of the Ganges and he saw this very effulgent boy sitting with a group of little boys over there, and he was teaching them Sanskrit grammar. So he was so attracted by the looks of the Lord because the Lord was extremely beautiful, and anybody who saw the Lord would feel like falling at his feet or would feel like glancing at him all the time. He was so beautiful. So when he saw the Lord, like usually when he goes and he challenges everybody, he does not have the sense of humility. But when he saw the Lord, he felt like talking to the Lord, he felt humble. And he just was listening to what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was teaching his students. And then he comes, "Oh, so you are Nimai Pandit," he asks him. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just confirms, yes. So he says, okay. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that, are you the Digvijay Pandit everybody is talking about? So he says yes, and he is very proud of it. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then requests him. He says that, why don't you compose something? I have heard about you that you have got the blessings of Goddess Saraswati and that you can compose anything within seconds. So why don't you compose something on Mother Ganga? He says. And Digvijay Pandit, Goddess Saraswati's blessings is there. No? So within minutes, he started composing and he composed about 100 shlokas of on Mother Ganga. And the students who were present there, they were all staring at him with their mouths wide open because such scholarship, such proficiency, and so quickly he composed, they could barely understand what he spoke. So he went on and on and on. And after he finished, Nimai Pandit, he said that, okay, your composition is very good, very beautiful. It is of a very high standard, but then you should explain to it in a simple manner. Like now we see people, there are many people, you can see how good their vocabulary is in any language. They will very intellectually speak in such a way that, other person, the layman will not be able to understand. So you must always ask them to break it down to a layman's language, and you must see how do they say it. It is very easy to boast about your proficiency in any language, but the actual communication rises only when what you speak is understood by the person to whom you are speaking. Otherwise, there is no point in that communication at all. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he asks him to explain whatever he says. So he starts fumbling. He is not able to explain it in simple terms. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he points out certain grammatical errors in certain verses. And then he also tells one very important thing. He tells him in the 64th verse, you use the term Bhavani Bhartu. Bhavani itself means the spouse of Uma, means the husband of Uma, means Shiva. So Bhavani means husband of Uma. And you're saying Bhavani Bhartu. So that is a superfluous term. Husband of Uma. What sense does this make? So it is a superfluous term. So he pointed out that mistake. Digvijay Pandit was astounded because throughout his narration, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had not said anything, and exactly he picked on the verses where there were flaws, and also he picked out on this Bhavani Bhartu, he picked out the 64th shloka and he explained. So he was astounded and he was trying to tell something when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, never mind, you are tired after a long journey. So what you do is you come better prepared tomorrow. Today you can go back home and rest. And he sends him home. But he doesn't go back home. He's just thinking on the bank of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his students, they all go back home. But this Digvijay Pandit is sitting on the bank of the Ganges and he's saying, how could this have happened? What happened? Why did Mother Goddess Saraswati did not support me? What happened? What wrong have I done? Saying so, thinking so, he went back to his place where he was staying and he slept with the same thoughts troubling him. He went out to sleep. When he went out to sleep, Mother Saraswati, she appeared in his dream and he asks Mother Saraswati, what wrong did I do? Why did you not support me? Why did you not help me when Nimai Pandit was telling me so many things? So she says that you do not know who Nimai Pandit is. He is my Supreme Lord. He is the Supreme Lord Hari. Where do I stand in front of him? I cannot stand in front of him, and that is why I was not able to help you. So understand that he is a supreme personality of Godhead who has come here as Nimai Pandit. He is showing himself as Nimai Pandit, but actually is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You understand that, but don't reveal this to anybody, she tells, and she disappears. And the next day, as soon as it is dawn, again, this Digvijay Pandit, he comes there and he sees Nimai, he's sitting there to teach his students. He immediately falls at his feet and he says, you have actually, you have delivered me. You please bless me. You please bless me. And I'm happy that all my arrogance is gone. He was so happy to be at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's feet. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just told him to do devotional service and blessed him. So these are two instances where there was an instance where Goddess Saraswati, she told Digvijay Pandit that he is a supreme personality of Godhead. And there was another where he showed himself to the Brahmana as a supreme personality of Godhead. So there are many various stories regarding Chaitanya Prabhu. If you read about his life and teachings, then you will see many instances where you understand that he is the supreme personality of Godhead. Now, why we are talking so much about this? Because it is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who gave us the Maha Mantra. What happened was his associates. Now here all his associates are there. Advaita Acharya, Gadadhara Pandit, mm, then Nityananda Prabhu, and Srivas. So all of them, they're always chanting the holy names of the Lord. So what they used to do, they used to chant the holy names of the Lord, and the Brahmanas who were there, who are Vedantas, they didn't like this chanting of the Lord. They believed only in the uh, chanting of the Vedas, and they thought that these people are dancing like mad people, and they are disturbing everybody. And moreover, these Brahmanas, they were very jealous of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because his popularity was increasing like anything in Navadvip. So they did not like that. So what did they do? They all complained about it to uh, the leader over there, the Muslim leader over there, the Qazi who was there. They complained to him. So what he did when Srivas, he was on the streets, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that you have to propagate this name by going to every street and just chanting the holy name. By listening to the holy name, everybody, they will start getting purified and they will be delivered from this material world. So listening to his instructions, they started chanting. When they started doing so, the Qazi, he became so annoyed that these people are chanting the names of the Lord on the road. And what he did, he took the mridang of Srivas Acharya and he broke it. Now all of them, they became so depressed, and because the rulers of the land, if they are going to do this, then how can the citizens live there? So they were all so depressed. At that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and they narrated to him. So he said, don't worry. Today we all will go chanting on the streets and I will lead the chanting group. So all of you all come with me. And he led the group. And when he led the group, the crowd, it just joined, it surged like anything. And so many people, they joined the crowd. And Kazi, when he heard of this, he never came out of his house. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he stopped outside the Qazi's house and there very loudly he started chanting. And when he was chanting so, the Qazi felt as though Narasimhadev, he felt something very strong holding his shoulder. And you could see, like, if the lion's claws, if they're on your shoulder, what happens? There will be the marks of the claws. So he could feel that. And here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's coming outside the Qazi's house and he's saying, Mama, Mama, please come outside. Why he's calling Mama? Because his Qazi was Kamsa in his previous life, where where Kamsa was Krishna's mama. So he is calling him Mama. He says, "You come out." And Kazi is so fearful that he does not come out. He understands that he is the Supreme Lord who is come as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because he could see that Narasimha came and kept his hand on his shoulder. So he was trembling so much with fear. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he goes inside and he blesses the Qazi, and then the Qazi, he does not create any problem. In fact, he also starts chanting the holy names of the Lord. So that is why you see that in Navadvip and West Bengal, now if you see in Mayapur, all of them you will see they'll be chanting the holy names of the Lord. So the Lord then had started propagating, chanting the holy names on the street. And this is the Maha Mantra which he gave. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So he made everybody chant this, and everybody started to chant, and they used to have the kirtan on the street. So that is why now once we have understood about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we will see one more Leela. Now here you can see the picture. Lord Chaitanya delivered crocodile by chanting the holy names. Now Lord Chaitanya, he along with his associates Nityananda Prabhu and all others, they all kept on chanting the holy name. Wherever they went, they used to chant the holy name, sing and dance and play the kartal and the mridang. And it used to the chanting of the holy names by the Lord used to attract so many people that the crowd surged over there also, and they kept walking along the banks of the river Ganges till they reached a village called Gadi Gacha. And there was a beautiful lake over there. So near the lake, they were all chanting and dancing, and there were also a lot of cowherd people over there. All cowherd men and boys. They also joined in the chanting with the with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now there was one boy called Bhima over there, a cowherd boy called Bhima. When he saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he invited him to his house. He said, "My mother always considers your mother as her mother, and in that relation you become my uncle. So you please come home and have lunch. My mother will be very pleased to serve all of you." So they all go to the cowherd boy Bhima's house, and his mother very happily she serves yogurt and sweet rice to all of them. After having lunch over there very happily, they again return back to the same lake, and they want to when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suggested that they should rest near the lake, the cowherd men they suggested that no, here there is a crocodile which is troubling everybody. Even the cows do not go to drink water over there, so you please stay away from the lake. This is the advice they gave. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what he says, he immediately he initiated the Sankirtan, the Nama Sankirtan over there itself. So hearing the loud chant of the Namas, the crocodile, it came out of the lake and it touched the feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. No sooner it touched the feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it turned into a celestial child, and it started crying. So now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted the child itself to narrate the tale about its past life. So the child, the celestial child, he's saying that when he was a small child and Durvasa Muni, he was resting in Kamyavan. At that time, he cut off his matted hair, and when Durvasa came to know, he was so furious that he cursed the child to become a crocodile, and he said, "You will remain in the body of a crocodile for 4 yugas." 4 yugas means Satya Yuga, uh, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga means 4 yugas. Now, such a long time to be in the body of the crocodile, the child started weeping like anything and started asking for forgiveness from Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni immediately he became sympathetic towards the child, and he said, "Definitely you will be delivered from my curse when Lord Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, when he incarnates as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Navadvipa, he will deliver you from this form." Saying so, uh, this child started crying, and he said that now I'm so happy that you have liberated me from the body of the crocodile. And amidst the chanting of the holy names, everybody starts Hari Hari and Hare Krishna Mahamantra. They started chanting loudly and dancing after listening to the story. And amidst the chanting of the story, the boy goes back to his celestial abode. So now we have understood that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is Lord himself who has come here to deliver us all. So now this material world is like a crocodile. We are in the clutches of Maya, which is a crocodile. Like we are in the jaws of the crocodile. And by chanting the name with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it has come, the Maha Mantra has come from the mouth of the Lord. Just as Bhagavad Gita is also sung by the Lord, the Maha Mantra was also given by the Lord Himself. And that is why we keep saying that you chant the holy name. So, whatever prayers you're saying, you just include this also in your chanting to deliver yourself from the jaws of the crocodile, which is the material nature, from this material world. So, it is a request for all of you to chant the holy names. And now there are some more evidences from the scriptures which tell us the importance of the holy name, after which we will wind up. Now, this is said in the Varaha Purana. Krishna Krishneti Krishneti Swapan Jagrat Vrajam Statha Yo Jalpati Kalau Nityam Krishna Rupi Bhavedi Saha. Whoever continues chants continuously chants Lord Krishna's holy name, even in his sleep, can easily realize that the name is a direct manifestation of Krishna himself, in spite of the influences of Kali Yuga. This has been ordained by Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna himself has said this, the Varaha Purana. See, unless you take a medicine, you will not understand the potency of the medicine, right? In the same way, unless you start chanting, you will not understand the potency of the holy name. So just chant. It is not going to do you any harm. So you just chant. The holy name is only going to purify your existence and bring you closer to the Lord. So chant the holy name and understand the higher taste of the holy name. Mahavyadi samachano Rajabadopapiditah Narayaneti samkritya Nirantako bhaven naraha. All dreadful fears and sufferings like severe sickness, the fear of capital punishment, etc., are easily quelled by chanting Lord Narayana's holy name. Mantratas tantratas chidram desha kalarna vastutah sarvam karoti nischidram anusha mikritanam tava. Now this is being said by Shukracharya. Discrepancies that arise while pronouncing Vedic hymns and following regulative principles of ritualistic activities in regard to time, place, and paraphernalia are all rectified by chanting the holy name, and thus one experiences unlimited joy. Chanting is the most important of all spiritual activities. So, if one takes shelter of the holy name, he will automatically achieve perfection in all other devotional endeavors. So, this comes in Vaman Avatar. Vaman descends to teach Bali Maharaj a lesson. So he asks for 3 paces of land, and Shukracharya forbids Bali Maharaj to give it to Vaman Deva, saying that Vishnu has come as Vaman Dev. Once he has asked for 3 paces. Once you agree to give him, then he will expand himself and he will take everything from you. This is what he wants Bali Maharaj. But Bali Maharaj, he immediately tells his guru that everything belongs to Vishnu himself. So what if he takes it? I will give him as promised the 3 paces of land, and that is when Vaman he grows so huge and takes away the 3 paces of land from Bali Maharaj. So at that time, Shukracharya, when Vaman asked Shukracharya, what was the mistake which happened in this 100th Yagya? That is, Bali Maharaj was performing the 100th Yagya so that he will be able to conquer the heavenly kingdom. So Shukracharya says that whatever discrepancies, while we are chanting the holy names, everything can be made up. I mean, while doing the yagya, can be made up by chanting the holy name. That is what he himself tells. He tells the Lord. So whatever, because now in Kali Yuga, we will not be able to perform yagya as we do not have all the pure ingredients to perform the yagya. And even the brahmanas, we do not have the qualified, most qualified brahmanas like how they were in Satya Yuga or Treta Yuga. So we do not have them, and that is why there are chances of many discrepancies being there while doing the yagyas. So he says even if such discrepancies happen, then the chanting of the holy name will make up for it. So the topmost is the chanting of the holy name. Now this is mentioned in the Kevalashtakam. Sa Guru Sa Pita Chapi Sa Mata Bandhavo Pisaha Shikshayechet Sada Smattum Harer Namaiva Kevalam. That person is a true perceptor or a true father, a true mother, and a true friend also, only if they teach one to always remember the holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. So now here is a picture of Lakshmana and his mother Sumitra. Sumitra was one of the 3 queens of King Dasharath, and she was considered to be the most intelligent of all the 3. And when Ram was sent to exile, and Lakshman was ready to go with Ram, Sumitra, she did not forbade Lakshman. In fact, she told Lakshman to always be at the side of Ram and to always do service to him and to always chant his name. This was the advice given by the mother to the son. So this is what a true person, that is a true preceptor, should always give a good advice, that you chant the holy names of the Lord. And that alone is everything. And that is what Sumitra, she did that. Now, this is the last shloka in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranama Dukkha Shamanas Tam Namami Harim Param. This is said by Sutta Goswami to the people who are assembled in Naimisharanya. That is, he listened to the Srimad Bhagavatam, which was being told by Shukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. And when he came to Naimisharanya, where all the sages assembled, because he could understand that Kali Yuga was an ocean of faults, and the people of Kali Yuga are going to be going to suffer like anything. So they all assembled there to do yagya actually for the welfare of the people. At that time, when Shuta Goswami arrived there, they asked him about what will happen now that Kali Yuga has come and the Lord has left this world. So where will we find the Lord's teachings and instructions? So they asked such questions, for which Sutta Goswami, who had listened to the Srimad Bhagavatam, he repeats the entire Bhagavatam to the sages of Naimisharanya, and they also, instead of performing the fire yagya, they also started to chant the holy name of the Lord. So this is the last shloka in the Srimad Bhagavatam. I offer my respectful obeisances. This is Sutta Goswami saying, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Hari, the congregational chanting of whose holy names destroys all sinful reactions, and the offering of obeisances unto whom relieves all material sufferings. So this is such a simple process given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that wherever we are, like he has given us this name for which there is no qualification that you have to be a Brahmana or a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or whatever. He says anybody can chant. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. That is why he went chanting on the streets. He's saying even those who heard the names of the Lord Hari, by listening to the names of the Lord Hari, even they will be relieved from these material sufferings. And he also asked his associates to spread the glories of the holy name. He asked them to teach everybody to chant the holy name of the Lord. So it's the simplest process in Kali Yuga. But we human beings are such that if anything is simple, we do not have any faith in it. We like things to be complicated. But actually, bhakti is very simple. Just keep chanting the holy name of the Lord, whether you are lying on the bed or you're working or you're walking to your place of work or you're going anywhere, always keep chanting the holy name of the Lord. It is not at all difficult to chant the holy name of the Lord. In Brihan Naradya Purana, it is mentioned, Harer Nama, Harer Namaiva Kevalam, Kalau Nastyeva, 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 Gatir Anyatha. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. So when our scriptures mention something three times, they are telling it to reinforce the importance of that particular thing. So in this Kali Yuga, there is no other way than chanting the holy names of the Lord. Only then you can be relieved from this material world. So that is the importance of the holy name. Now Narada Muni, the one who is always talking about the glories of Lord Hari, he himself is saying in the Padma Puran, it is mentioned, Kim Vaitithya Tiya Tatha Pritivyam Atane Kirtiya Yasya Vai Nama Mahima Shrutva Moksham Avapnuyat. What is the need to go around the earth finding any Tirtha? Simply by hearing the glories of Harinam, one gets liberated. Now, there are many people who cannot see. God has given several ways for us to get liberated. Like if He says you take the bath in the Ganges, your sins will be vanquished. So there are many ways which are mentioned in the scriptures how you have to get out of this material entanglement. But everybody cannot go to the Ganges. Everybody cannot go and visit the holy places. So what is to be done? So that is why he has given the easiest process. Even if you are not able to go to all the Tirtha stans, you are not able to go and take bath in the Ganges, it does not matter. Wherever you chant the holy name of the Lord, that place itself becomes the Tirthastan, that place itself becomes the Ganges. So it becomes so holy by when you chant the holy names. That is the power of the holy name. Like even there is a story of Hanuman also. He keeps chanting the name of Lord Ram, and how a Saligram became a big mountain. Most of you must be knowing the story. We have this place called Namakkal in South India. He was chanting the holy name of the Lord Ram. He had a saligrama. He had to do his rituals in the evening, the Sandhya Vandanam he had to do when goddess Lakshmi was, she arrived there. Hanuman, he just requested goddess Lakshmi that you please hold the saligrama till I finish my Sandhyavadana and come, and I will take back the saligram. So she is holding the saligram. Meanwhile, Hanuman, after finishing his Sandhyavadana, he sits to chant the names of the Lord. He forgets himself and he is totally engrossed in chanting the names of the Lord. That the saligram starts to grow in size. It becomes so heavy that Lakshmi Devi is not able to hold it and she places it on the ground. Then when he comes to his external consciousness, he asks Lakshmi Devi, where is the saligram? She shows him the huge mountain, which is called Namakal. Kal means stone in Tamil. Nama means Nama. So Namakal. So because of his chanting, it grew into such a huge mountain. And the saligrama had two holes, which are two caves. In one cave is housed Narsimadev, and in another cave is Lord Vishnu. So if you any of y'all go to have a chance to visit Namakal, you'll understand the story and you'll go and visit the place. Even we have heard of the story of the bridge of from Rameshwaram to Sri Lanka, which Lord Ram went with his army to attack Ravan. So the name Ram was written on the stone and it floated in the sea, and they crossed the bridge, the entire army. So it bore the weight of the entire army. So that is the power of the holy name. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is giving us the simple process, and we should understand that the holy name is so potent that it is just by chanting, or you should start chanting to experience the glories, to experience the effect of the holy name. You should start chanting it. So you can contact this number for the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. It was Srila Prabhupada who translated the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes from Bengali to English, and because of that, now we are able to understand about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also and the Maha Mantra which he gave. So I pay my obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.